Hello and welcome to Mystic Visions. This is a daily pick a card reading for Monday, January 4th, 2021. And the purpose of this reading is to give you a brief piece of advice or to help guide your overall focus for the day. If you're looking for a longer, more detailed reading, please check out my channel for the monthly readings. And if you are new to pick a card readings, the way this works is that you'll choose from one of the three piles here, and then click on the timestamp in the description to skip ahead to the reading you've selected. Now, if you feel compelled to choose more than one card, that's totally fine. Please follow your intuition here. There's likely to be some good advice in each reading, even if one pile is just more accurate than the others. So I have also added 3 crystals to aid in your selection. And today I have carnelian, and this one is tangerine quartz. This one is bismuth. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds of silence so that you can meditate on your choice if you wish. And then once you have your choices in mind, go ahead and find the timestamp in the description below. So let's go ahead and start the 30 seconds right now. Okay, so if you have not already done so, please go ahead and make your choice. And scroll down to the description to find the timestamp to skip ahead in the video to your reading. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started with pile number 1 if you chose the carnelian. This one is for you. So you have the Lovers, the Wheel in the reverse, and the Devil in the reverse. Okay. All right, so the situation here is the Lovers. The Lovers indicates that a choice has to be made. It's not as simple as, people think of the Lovers as being a very romantic card, and sometimes people think romance is all about a sort of like infatuation or just, everything is super easy and you don't have to work at it. You're just magnetically drawn to another person, your soulmate, right? Well, unfortunately, that's not how it works. The Lovers is all about choice, which basically means that in any sort of a great relationship like that, there's going to have to be a decision made, a choice made to stay with it, because it won't always feel like the thing you want to do. There's always going to be temptations. There's always going to be other possibilities for you. And so for you to actually stay with the one, there has to be a choice made, a commitment made. So, and this doesn't only apply to relationships. This could be in any sort of avenue of your life. You are being asked to stick with something and recognize that you've made a choice with something and that it won't always be easy. So it could be a project or something that you've been working on as well, something that maybe was a lot of fun in the beginning, but as time went by, you found it difficult to remain motivated. But of course, this very much could refer to a relationship. But just in general, there's something here that's kind of gotten a little possibly boring or difficult or just hard for you to stick with. And this card is a reminder to you that you have to constantly make that choice to be involved as a matter of commitment. Now, crossing you is the Wheel in the reverse. So the wheel in the reverse could be that you're resisting a sort of change of the seasons, or there's this natural ebb and flow to things that is not really working out too well for you. So, in the context of a relationship, it's like at the beginning, there's this sort of honeymoon phase where everything is easy and your attraction is enough to keep you together with another person. But then you move on from that cycle, and there becomes a little bit more of an intentional phase. And that's not the last phase. There's phases after that as well. But the point is, you may be resisting moving on from that phase. You may be resisting the kind of natural changes, the natural evolution of life that is occurring. So the advice for you here would be to essentially recognize that things are always in flux, things are always changing, and that there are different times that require different sorts of actions and feelings and that sort of thing. So your advice card is this Devil in the reverse. So think about, in this situation, the devil would normally be sort of preying on your desires and the illusion in the situation and all that. But in this situation, you may be a little bit more focused on what you don't want or what you don't need. So also remember the things that drew you to the situation in the first place. That's a big help for you in this situation. It's not to say that your desires are serving you well, because you could be sidetracked by some other lesser desires, but remember the thing that basically got you to commit to this sort of a choice in the first place. There had to be some sort of a reason why you made this decision, and if there really wasn't at the very beginning, then it may be time to rethink your choice or your decision. But don't be thrown off just by the random changing of the cycles, or just moving on from one point in life to another. And certainly don't be led astray just by some lower desires, because there is a higher desire here that is being satisfied through a commitment to the choice that you've made. So remember what that is, and sort of reconnect with that purpose. And it can kind of seem to magically resolve some of the issues that you might be facing just by reconnecting with that purpose. Okay. So that's it for card number 1. So for card number 2, if you chose the Tangerine Quartz. Okay. All right. So Tangerine Quartz, you have the 8 of Cups in the reverse. So the 8 of Cups, this can be sort of like a you need to sort of withdraw from the situation. You need to kind of get out of this and take some time on your own, some time to recharge your batteries. But you're a little resistant to this. Maybe you feel like there's still some work that needs to be done. Maybe you feel like there's still something else that you can accomplish. But when this card comes up in the reverse like this, I tend to think it's a little bit better to just take some distance from it, or to set it down and come back to it at some other point. So whatever's got you frustrated, there may be a need for you to sort of distance yourself a little bit from the situation and perhaps come back to it another time, or perhaps just to leave it behind and to not come back to it. In your challenging card here is this 9 of Swords. So at one point there may have been some anxiety around this issue, and it's quite possible that you have overcome this anxiety to a degree, but there is a message here to reconnect with, anxiety is like fear that's kind of gone out of control, or like a positive feedback loop. But the fear that was seeded there at the very beginning had some sort of a purpose, and it may have been asking you to sort of walk away. So make sure that your determination has not allowed you to override your intuition that's telling you possibly that the situation is not good for you, or if you're not being respected or something like that. And, it doesn't mean necessarily to just abruptly walk away, but it might mean to start thinking about that process, or to, begin, I don't know, if it's a job or something like that where you're not being respected properly, merely making the step to begin moving away may be the solution to your issue in some way or another. Even if you don't actually end up walking away, just making that decision that it's time to walk away may sort of inadvertently lead to a solution for you. Now, what's going on for you here, or your advice, is the Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands generally means like a surprise, something happening. So this means, I'm taking it as don't be too concerned with sort of controlling the situation or feeling like you have to be really actively involved. Recognize that things can sort of spontaneously happen without them being something that you foresaw or something that you were personally facilitating. There is always this sort of surprise element, and you never really know how other people are going to react to the way you handle a situation or whatever input you've put into it. So, the advice here is don't worry so much about having this situation play out exactly the way you want it to. There's definitely some element of surprise here that is probably going to be what makes the situation work out in your favor. So that's about it for card number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to card number 3. Card number 3 with the bismuth. If you chose this, here we have the Four of Pentacles, the Page of Cups, and the Four of Cups. Now, all of these are in the reverse, so if you are a veteran of the channel here, you will know that anytime I get a reading where all cards are in the reverse position, it is my rule to flip them all right side up. Many reasons for that. Really, for the most part, just because it makes it more accurate in my experience. And also, it's just a little bit more of a brighter side to the message instead of looking at it from the negative. So what we have for the situation here is the Four of Pentacles. So this can indicate a sort of a need to save or to be careful with your finances, to not go on spending sprees. There may be a little bit of excess because the Four of Pentacles doesn't necessarily have a poor feeling to it. She, in fact, is fairly wealthy. She's got, this wonderful clothing and jewelry and everything and this purse, but she's clutching it. So there's a need for walking away from the marketplace and just sort of hanging on to those goodies. And what's crossing you here is this Page of Cups. So there could be quite a bit of temptation here for going out and spending things, or, it's possible that you've come into some money recently and you are struggling on what to do with it. And so the Page of Cups, you can see this little pig with wings is on his mind. So he's kind of thinking about impractical, fanciful ways to spend money or to achieve happiness. But with that Four of Pentacles in your current situation, it almost definitely means there may be some tendencies to overspend or something like that in this situation. So look for ways to invest or to make your money work for you, or just to save this for a rainy day. Ask yourself if you really need to spend the money right now, or if it's just something that you are wanting. And, the Page of Cups has a really positive, childlike energy, but it's not very tempered. It's not very cautious. So he kind of believes just like anything could happen. So, and it's a wonderful energy, and I don't want to kind of rain on your parade a little bit, but there should definitely be a little bit of prudence in this situation as you approach it. So the advice for the situation here is the Four of Cups. So Four of Cups is generally kind of like a bad attitude, right? But for the advice card, what this is telling you is that your happiness is not necessarily dependent on external circumstances. You can see this little cup is being handed to her almost out of nowhere, and it's got like rainbows and sparkles coming out of it, yet she's still just kind of not feeling it. She's just sitting there with a kind of stank look on her face. And so this is to kind of tell you that whatever's going on in the external circumstance is not really what's going to make you happy. Don't go chasing after happiness through things or external circumstances, but instead recognize that it's kind of a choice that you make. There's a an ability that you have to decide how you're going to feel about certain situations and to follow that through to its conclusion instead of just chasing after something in the external. So it's not necessary for you to feel that sort of way just because you're not going out or doing things or whatnot. There's always some fun to be had. There's always some way for you to brighten your perspective and to do something that really kind of gets your gears moving. And it's almost always free. The best things in life are free, right? So yeah, don't get too hung up on some external quest for satisfaction when you probably have everything that you need right now. And, just be careful because it's going to be a trying time ahead for everybody. And that's not just something I'm reading from the cards. That's for everybody. So be prepared for what's coming. And have a little bit extra saved up, Now, the danger of the Four of Pentacles is she can become a little bit like agoraphobic. She can become closed off to the world and unwilling to spend any of her money to make her happy or whatnot. So, it's very, it's okay to kind of have a balanced spending of your money. I'm not telling you to clutch every penny that you have, but there's definitely a need for you to kind of balance that spending with a little bit of financial prudence or trying to get things a little bit more under control financially. Okay, so that's about it for today's reading. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow for the next daily reading.